Hey guys, Ivan here, and in today's video we got a couple of very interesting bodybuilding updates. The first one is an off-season update of Samson Dauda, who is looking absolutely insane right now. I don't know if he was ever this freaking big, this freaking massive. And his caption says it all, basically. He says, "Never stop making progress." So even though he won the Mr. Olympia, that doesn't mean that he can just stay the same and keep winning, because the other guys are probably gonna get better. Like Derek Lansford can improve the size of his legs and come in better condition next year. Hadi can also come in with that Arnold Classic conditioning, which is very possible because this year he's saving himself for the Mr. Olympia only. Martin Fitzwater is on his way up, so Samson is gonna have his hands full. I mean, he's definitely the guy to chase right now. He is definitely the most complete bodybuilder of today, the biggest bodybuilder of today as well. And he is most likely going to win it again as long as he shows up in solid conditioning. But you never know, just in case he needs to get even better, even bigger. And at this point, he's definitely reaching the Ronnie Coleman level of size. I'm not saying that he will ever reach like Ronnie Coleman's level of quality. Like Ronnie had those super peeled glutes and everything was just super shredded. His back was also, Samson's back, he has a little bit higher lats. So I don't know if Samson can really reach Ronnie Coleman's level, but as far as the size, he's most certainly there. As far as I know, he was actually heavier on the Mr. Olympia stage than Ronnie Coleman at any Mr. Olympia that he won, but Ronnie was in better condition. So if Samson puts on a little bit more size, maybe he will be able to afford, and actually he will be willing and able, like his body will be able to get to Ronnie Coleman's level of conditioning. Imagine that. If that happened, then we will for sure have a legacy that will last many years. Now, Steve Weinberger talked about this as well on Fuad Abiad's podcast. Let me show you what Fuad asked him and what Steve Weinberger said about Samson Dauda and his potential legacy.
Can you ask Steve if he ever thinks there will be another long reigning Mr. Olympia?
I don't think so.
Do you think Samson
Not
could
the way
be?
it is right now.
Do you think Samson could be that guy?
If Andrew Jack puts it together, I'd like to see those two together.
Yeah,
I think,
that'd be-
honestly, potential-wise, those two are the best. Potential. I'm not saying, you don't know if Samson could put it together, in the same condition and even better condition, because these other guys weren't at their best, some of them.
Right.
He's got to get better too.
Right.
It's very hard to be consistent year in and year out.
Alright, so Steve's answer here was very interesting because he said, "I don't think there will be a long-lasting legacy because of the way things are now." And he didn't really expand on that, but you guys probably know how it was back in the day. You had one champion, he would stay up there for a long time. I don't know if the judges judged it that way or if the IFBB wanted to have one Mr. Olympia for a long time, but it kind of sounded like that. And that's definitely not the case these days. Even if you are the Mr. Olympia and you lose and you are slightly worse than the second guy or the guy who was 5th last year, whatever, you're gonna end up in 2nd or in 5th in Remy's case. So everything is judged exactly the way it is. There is no such thing as knocking out the champion anymore. So if Samson wants to have a legacy, he needs to keep improving. He needs to be very, very consistent. He actually needs to be the best bodybuilder on the stage every year. And Steve Weinberger is doubtful that that's going to happen because, again, it's very, very difficult to be so consistent for a number of years. You could say that Dorian Yates could have lost a couple of Olympias that he won, Jay Cutler as well, maybe Ronnie Coleman too, maybe Phil Heath versus Kai Green, but they still gave it to them even when they were not at their absolute best. However, we are not seeing that anymore, so once again, if Samson wants to continue winning, he needs to continue improving, because if Hadi was at the Mr. Olympia the way he was at the Arnold Classic, who knows what would happen? Who knows what would happen if Derek Lansford's legs were matching his upper body and his conditioning was better? How much will Martin Fitzwater improve? What will Nick Walker bring next year? What about Andrew Jack? Steve Weinberger thinks that Andrew Jack has the most potential along with Samson Dauda. So in order for Samson to continue winning, to stay at the top, he needs to keep improving. Size-wise, yeah, he can bring up his lats, for example, maybe his arms a little bit more, biceps. But I'm pretty sure as long as he keeps bringing good conditioning, keeps improving it a little, I think he will reign. I think he will reign for a while. That's my opinion. Will he be able to nail the peak every year? That's a question. We don't know that. He is not the most consistent guy. This is the first year he ever brought that level of conditioning in the glutes and hamstrings. So we have to wait to see what he will do at the Arnold Classic this year and at the Mr. Olympia, actually next year. But if anybody has the potential for a long-lasting legacy, in my opinion, that is this guy, Samson Dauda. What do you guys think? Alright, so the next thing we got is an update from Seth. As you guys know, he's preparing for his comeback. I believe it's gonna be in the open division. His plan was to hire Honey Rambo to prep him again like back in the day, but now that Honey is retired, who knows who will prep Seth. But the way things are moving for him, he is actually looking super amazing right now. Especially considering what he's doing gear-wise. He was open about it in Fuad's podcast, and he's taking very, very little, very small amounts. It's a jump from what he was doing all these years since he retired, but his body is responding like crazy. He is looking massive and hard as well. The only issue that Seth has kind of is a little bit wider waist, but he can make it smaller with better posing, and as his prep, as his off-season also goes along, he will probably put on even more muscle, make his back maybe more dramatic, with bigger lats, with bigger legs, wider shoulders, the waist will appear to be smaller. But overall, you know, for this point in prep, I mean, off-season, whatever he's competing next year, he's actually looking phenomenal. And he's definitely one of those guys who have unfinished business. He actually stopped competing at around the time when I kind of started following bodybuilding. It was like, I think he stopped competing in 2012. I started watching bodybuilding in 2010, 11 maybe. And if you check out his old photos, he definitely looked like a guy with so much potential. Like he had those full and long muscle bellies, no weaknesses basically. He knew how to come in conditioned, and he always made the weight for 212, so he never really reached his full potential even back when he was competing. And he retired very young, very early. I mean, right now he's 39, he's turning 40, so he's still very young in bodybuilding years. He can still make a lot of progress and actually peak, look better than ever. And now that he's going to be doing the open, you know, with more size, I mean, look at this once again. Look at how big he is now. I think he will look better on stage in 2025 than he did back in 2011, 12. I think he's going to be at his absolute best. Can he win a pro show? I have no idea, to be honest. I need to see him on stage to see how much better he will actually get during this prep, but I think anything is possible, really. And that's a very exciting part of this comeback because we can't really predict how he will do, but I think it's very possible that we'll see this guy on the Mr. Olympia stage next year. Alright, and finally, we got a new physique update from Wesley Vissers. Apparently, he's 260 pounds right here, which is not very heavy for Wesley. That's not much above his weight cap in classic physique. Maybe he's like 10 pounds up, something like that. And you can see it in his conditioning. He's still very, very shredded. And I believe he'll be doing the Arnold Classic again next year. And a big question is, can he win again after failing so badly at a Mr. Olympia? Like, after that Arnold Classic where he looked absolutely insane, everybody thought he was going to be the one who's going to challenge Chris Bumstead for the title. That did not happen. He ended up all the way, I think, 7th or 8th, which was very surprising. I didn't know what to think of it, what to make of it, why did that happen. I thought it was obvious that he was off. Like, some people speculated that maybe just in a bigger lineup he didn't look as good as at the Arnold Classic, but at the Arnold Classic he already had guys like Urs Kalecinski, Ramon Dino, Brion Ainsley, a bunch of other guys, and he beat them all, basically everybody except for Chris Bumstead. So I don't think it was that. It definitely wasn't that. He was definitely off, but like, what was off with his physique? Was his conditioning off? I think it was slightly. Maybe not like body fat percent wise, but I think he simply wasn't as hard, as full. He just missed his peak. That's the way I saw it. But Steve Weinberger has a different explanation. He saw it a little bit differently. Let me show you what he said.
How did Wesley go from winning the Arnold to like 6th or 7th or whatever?
He came really small. He just lost a lot of size.
Okay. So they tried to push the
Yeah,
condition.
I think he did too many shows, maybe, or he just didn't eat enough. You know, he was small.
All right, very interesting. A very simple answer. He was too small. Did you guys see it that way? Well, I didn't really think of that, but now that I'm looking at this video again, yeah, I can see it. Especially in the legs. You know, his legs at the Arnold Classic did look a lot fuller. You know, that's his weakest point, but at the Arnold Classic, they didn't look small. They actually looked probably the best, the biggest, the fullest they ever looked. His legs didn't really look that small compared to his upper body, but here, that was definitely the case, especially from the side and from the back as well. You can see it for sure, like the legs, the glutes, even like the back didn't have that pop. You know, the arms as well, he definitely was on the smaller side. And he did say in that one podcast, that interview, that his plan is to come to the Mr. Olympia even more shredded than he was at the Arnold Classic, which I thought was absolutely impossible because at the Arnold Classic he was maxed out. That could not have been a better package. So maybe he tried to be more shredded and he just lost fullness, and with the loss of size and fullness, his muscle didn't pop as much, and so not only that he was smaller, but he was also less conditioned because he was lacking fullness. So what he needs to do right now is to rebuild. And I don't think he lost that much. I'm pretty sure he can get it back until the Arnold Classic and, you know, fix his mistakes. Learn on his mistakes. Or should I say Stefan Kinsel should do that, because he was prepping Wesley. I don't know how much input did Wesley have in this prep. Was he just listening to Stefan, or did he do something on his own? I don't know. But if these guys put their heads together and they actually make a better plan without sacrificing fullness for more conditioning, it's gonna pay out. I think they will not repeat this mistake, and I think Wesley definitely has a chance, a big chance of winning the Arnold Classic. And who knows, at the Mr. Olympia, if he's as good as he was at the Arnold Classic last year, maybe he can actually challenge, maybe he can beat Mike Sommerfeld and everybody else, Urs, Ramon, Brian. I mean, he already beat all those guys before, so it's very possible that he can become the new Mr. Olympia champion in Classic Physique if he nails everything perfectly. What do you guys think? Tell me down below in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. For more content like this, guys, stay tuned. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon. All the best, and bye-bye.